much, much better. I believe we are now live on all platforms. I will take 1 second just to check, of course, because that's what's needed to be done. Let's go here. Let's go here. It looks like we're good on YouTube. It looks like we're also good on Facebook. I know 2 months ago I said that we were done on Facebook and we're moving to Discord, but not quite happened yet still. But we will get it going, I think. Just some teething problems with moving the platform across. But it looks like we are all good to go. So go we shall. Yes, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new Rugby Muscle podcast. This is our live Q&A edition, September live Q&A edition. Can you believe that we are in September already? It still feels kind of weird right in 2023. Yet here we are sat in September. Here we are a week away from the start of the Rugby World Cup. Here we are with a lot of you that are watching this going to start rugby tomorrow. Or I've already, depends on what you begin, what you would call the start. But yeah, the season will begin tomorrow, and pre-season is long since began. Anyway, these live Q&As, we tend to tear them down now from in post. So if you're watching this after the fact, still give it a thumbs up to let us know that you watched it. We usually take them down and separate all the questions now, though. If you're watching or if you're listening on Spotify or on the podcasts, 5-star reviews, thumbs up always do help. And of course, if you have any questions, if you're joining us after the fact, then pop them in the comments below on YouTube or ask them in the Facebook group and we'll get back to you. Or you can even, a platform I've got better at recently is Instagram, and it's not from making posts, because I don't like 60-second posts and I don't like quick things like that. I like to be thorough, but I am able to be somewhat thorough in the messenger on Instagram. It does work quite well, so if you have any questions, I'm always I'm fairly responsive there now as well, which is not something I thought was going to come. Anyway, we've got some questions that were asked up on the community tab, both on the Facebook group and on the YouTube community tab. So we don't have too many. We'll see how long we run today. The aim is usually around 45 minutes. Live questions always make a big difference to that. So if you are watching on the live, your questions will always be prioritized. So give it a thumbs up. Let us know that you're here. And ask any questions in the live chat below. Otherwise, if you are looking to work with Rugby Muscle, the links are going to be posted in the description below, or you can find everything basically that's on offer at the time of speaking at rugby-muscle.com. There you can also sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is easily the best way. So not only can you get either a free report, free macro guide, or both of those things, amongst other things, but you'll also get in on the newsletter, which I usually email out 3-ish times a week, and it's never overly promotionally spammy stuff. It is actionable content that you can take action on, and you'll also get to know I do release some programs and some a lot of actually programs and sort of beta testing type programming and coaching products, systems. I launch them exclusively to the guys that are on the email. Sometimes I don't even bother posting them ever on Facebook, on YouTube, or even on the website. So getting in on email will give you a big advantage. Post all of our updates there. So with that all being said, I think that's every box promotionally I need to tick. Give it a thumbs up on YouTube. The like button does matter a lot. Any comments, even if it's just supportive comments, always do help out the channel. Hit subscribe if you are new, both on the podcasts and on the YouTube. And let's get into some questions, shall we? Oh, and of course, if you are joining on the live, say hi in the chat, and also give it a thumbs up. That just helps out get into other people's feeds, and then we have a bit of a group thing going on. It usually takes a question or two to get into that, though. So we'll start for now with Dave Thompson, who says, in general, what's the youngest you'd get guys lifting weights, and what would you get them doing? Just the basic push-pull movements and plyometrics? There's a lot of youngsters in my club dead keen and not doing it to the last video they've seen. I'm assuming what you mean by doing it to the last video they've seen is whatever they see on, God damn it, the kids watching TikTok. I hope that's not the case, but I fear that is almost certainly going to be the case. Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Is YouTube now an old man platform? Anyway, the question. What's the youngest I'd get guys lifting weights? 5. 5 years old. I would get kids lifting as long as they want, as long as it's fun and as long as it's not taking the place of anything else. Like, it's not we know now it's not a risk. It's not something that is going to stunt their growth, particularly when you think about the fact that they play contact sports, and they just are kids, right? Like, that stuff is way more. It's not going to stunt their growth, but that's way more damaging, right? You think about the fact that kids just are kids, right? But they're also designed to be kids. So lifting weights is always going to be a good thing. You're not going to make, they won't have the coordination to be able to hurt themselves, really, and they won't be able to use the forces to be able to hurt themselves. So it's very easy to make it fun, and it's very easy to slowly progress it, but you won't progress it as far as movement goes. So maybe you start them with kids, with adults, right? You start on a weight and you continue to move up and up and up and up and up, and as you get stronger, and as the weeks go by, you probably will start to move slightly better, but the main thing is that you're progressing on the weights. With kids, you can do all of that stuff, but you don't even have to progress on the weights. They're not worried about the numbers as much. They just have to do the work, and if they do the work and find it fun, that's great. So there could be loads of different, if anything, the more movements you get them doing, the better. So squatting, lunging, getting them moving, sprinting, getting them running, getting them jumping, all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't necessarily look at plyometrics. I wouldn't necessarily look at moving as perfectly as you can when sprinting, but I would look at squatting as well as you can. I'd look at hinging really well, just understanding what a hinge looks like or a push-up looks like, and work towards that stuff. Have you ever seen a kid actually do a push-up, a proper push-up? It's so rare. And it's because they're kind of weak, so they end up doing weird shoulder things. So I would just do basic, as basic a movements as possible. You don't need to do a ton of volume. You need to do a ton of variety. So there's a lot of stuff recently into youth sports, and this is 15 to 16 to maybe even a little bit younger than that, but that sort of age, where it's just you do 20 exercises and you do one set of 20 across all of them. And so you just keep them moving, and that would be a great approach. Whether that's a formal session that you're doing it with them, that would be great. Whether it's a warm-up for, if you're coaching down at your local club, it could be a warm-up or it could be a burnout at the end. Just do sets of 10 squats with body weight and get them moving as well as possible, and just continually correcting their movement, because for most kids, they're not going to squat well. Their movement's going to be pretty poor, and then as soon as you correct them, they kind of get it, and then they go back to their crap form. So you just reinforce that over weeks, and that will make a huge difference, and it should be sort of fun for them. They'll enjoy it. And so I'm thinking in my head, because I answered 5, that you're dealing with 5-year-olds. If you're dealing with any sort of teenagers, that would be what I would do. One set of 20 on lots of different stuff. That can still be jumps as well. You could do a set of 20 jumps. You could do a set of 20. I wouldn't worry too much about anything specific. I'd just get the general physical traits trained up, right? So basic strength can be trained in a set of 20. Basics power, basic movement work, so pushing, pulling, all these different things, and you want to just look for good form, because inevitably kids are just going to have sloppy form because they don't have the structure yet. But like, if you let them naturally solve it themselves, they should get it over time. I'm assuming what you're saying with the last video was whatever they've seen recently. And like, if we're looking at now 15 to 18-year-old kids, then we would look at we could still do one set of 20, but I'd like a little bit of extra strength work in there. I'd like a little bit of a base of like just aerobic conditioning. In fact, I think that'd be massive. Like, if you got a kid to be really aerobically fit and like train them really well between the ages of 14 to 18, like, there'd be a good chance that kid would barely have to do any aerobic work for his whole future of his rugby career, and he'd be in good shape. That would pay a lot of dividends. Same thing, actually, that would be the biggest thing, but then you could also look at speed and movement quality as well with that stuff, because that stuff, once you get it really trained well, like, there's no turning back. Like, it's just really hard to undertrain that stuff, detrain that stuff, and I think it'd make a big difference. But I mean, the main thing with these kids though is also a little bit of like consistency. You know, would be the same thing with adults, but with kids, it's going to be like, if they do they could do the perfect program for 2 months, and then if they don't do anything for the next 2 years, doesn't really make a difference. It's about the challenge would be, and the greatest success you would have would be getting them to make like whatever progress they can make, but enjoy that progress. And if they enjoy that progress, they'll stick with it. And if they do 3 years from 15 to 18, like, that's gonna be huge. Whereas if they don't enjoy it, like, if you could get someone to be a gym junkie for life from training well at that age, or you could turn them off. So be careful. Just make sure it is fun. We've got some people now on the live. Say hi and give a thumbs up, please. If you have any questions, of course, on the live feeds, we've only got a couple questions left from the preloaded questions, so you will get a lot of time for any questions that you do have. And if they're also nonsense fun ones, I enjoy those too. We'll move on to the next question let's go to David's other question. So he says, I'm having difficulty getting sufficient protein into my diet. I'm getting on, and even if I'm not smashing the weights, I need to up it as us OAPs need more. Any tips getting in more, or should I just go to the protein shakes? So there's a lot of just sort of negative self-talk in that, Dave, like, that I would really question. Like, calling yourself an OAP, I get that you're joking, but your protein needs are not necessarily higher than youngsters, because youngsters would better utilize that protein. So there'd be an argument that they would not necessarily need more, but would want more because they can have the capacity to train harder. With that being said, if you are looking to increase your protein, like, I'm gonna choose to not hate this question, but if you want to get more protein in, you get more protein in. Like, that sounds like a dick answer, but like, that I'll give some tricks, but the reality is you've got to understand that your job is to get 180, 170, 160 grams of protein in, whatever it is. Like, mine is 170-ish grams of protein that I get. I don't eat any meat. I don't eat any dairy. I don't eat any fish. Don't eat any. I'm basically vegan. And I can get that fairly easy. And like, I don't view it as, like, this is difficult to get it in. Can I get it in? Or what? Like, I see it as, like, I've got to do this, right? So then you figure out a way, you know. Now, of course, I've got my years of expertise and years of practice doing this stuff, so I know some tricks, so I'll try and give you those now. I know what I've said up until now is more of a, like, not a useful answer for you. I know it's like a more of a general. This is the overall way you've got to think at it, and that doesn't really help you in the moment. But that is long term how you've got to approach it. You've got to approach it that if you get 120 grams in, that's a failure for the day as far as protein goes, and really, like, if you're only realizing that at 9 or 10 p.m. at night, that's a failure in whatever you've done beforehand. So you've got to make sure that you're a little bit more proactive. That would be number one, right? Be proactive. Make sure that you already know that you're not getting enough protein. So plan ahead. What can I get that's quite high in protein, and how can I get those meals in every day? Number two would be, again, prepare, but we're talking about now preparing meals ahead of time. So once you do find some high protein meals, like, lean on those, and potentially cook more than one at a time. So cook, if it's a chicken pasta, or if it's a steak sandwich, or if it's, I don't know, whatever it is. But rather than make one meal, make 3 meals, or make a whole week of meals. And then it's always there, and then you're already set. And if you're preparing meals, I feel like most people should prepare meals ahead of time anyway. It's just not even from a health point of perspective or from a protein perspective, but from a time saving perspective. If you are having to spend an hour twice a day, or 30 minutes twice a day for lunch and dinner, or maybe even for breakfast, like cooking meals and preparing meals, like you could batch a lot of that process and then save yourself a bunch of time. So find some meals that suit that high protein demand, and get in there, and go, and like, those would be your go-tos. I'm not a big fan of high protein snacks. I would look at doing meals instead. So it's like you're either having 3, 4, maybe 5 big meals, and so you're making sure that each of those meals, say if we're aiming for 180 grams of protein, let's say, because that divides into 3, a little bit easier. If you're having 3, you're making sure that each of those 3 meals, including desserts or whatever, has got 60 grams of protein. If it's 4, then you make sure it's got 45 grams of protein. Maths has been nailed there. And then you got 180 grams as well. If it's 5, then that would be 40-ish grams of protein. Yeah, it would be 40. And so you just make sure you just average out your protein requirements for each meal, and then you focus on, you make sure your meal's not prepared, it's not done, it's not your recipe isn't finished until it hits that mark. And if it doesn't hit that mark, you just add in extra protein, which would be my next sort of tip, would be just to, like, if you're normally having 1 chicken breast, have 2. If you're normally having X amount of mince, add more mince. It sounds so obvious, but that's one easy way to do it. And it's like, if you're not getting any protein, that's something that you've got to do. You could also have top ups. So you can either increase the amount of protein in, like, the protein focus of the meal, or you can layer it. You can, like, top up the meal with extra protein. So say if you're having a sandwich, you can make sure that sandwich is like, or the bread in that sandwich is whole grain, high protein bread. Or you could add hummus or some sort of bean dip into that sandwich. So then you've got extra protein in from there. Or you could have just a side of a protein shake, or a dessert that is a Greek yogurt. Or if you're having Greek yogurt, you can put protein powder into that mix. Which leads me into my final point to help increase your protein, would be to, use powders. Powders is not, like, it's just as manufactured as any other dairy. It's just in powder form. So it's like, we somehow think it's different, but it's no different to what, like, it's the same process that makes cheese from milk that makes whey. Or is it butter? It might be butter, actually. But the point is that the part of the process that actually, no, I can't remember now. I don't know why I'm drawing a brain fart on this, but part of the process that you process dairy with makes whey protein, and then we make it, and part of the waste product from that is whey, and then we add some flavor into it, and we make it into our protein shake. It's still food. It's not anything different. It's not a special supplement or a special thing. It's just food. It's just processed differently. Like pea protein, or if you're looking at like vegetable, plant-based proteins or any other powdered protein, it's also still no different from like how we extract baking powder, or how we extract, how we extract flour to make bread. Like all of the food that we have is manufactured, and protein powder is no different. Protein powder is a food. Get it in. It makes it so easy. Like if you have an oatmeal, now all of a sudden you've got good flavored oatmeal or porridge, and you've got protein with it. Boom, done. Real simple. That answers that question. All right. On to the last question. Do we have any questions on the live? Looks like we are still chilling on the live feed, which, whatever. I appreciate a thumbs up or a hello. Oh, we got a thumbs up there. Nice. Appreciate that. We are still chilling on the live feed, so we'll go to the final preloaded question, and we might be in and out of here on this live Q&A within 30 minutes. That'd be nice for me, because I've got lots of stuff to do, so we'll see. Nikki95 says, any tips on conditioning during colder weather and how to avoid cramps during games? Oh, this is two questions. This will still keep us in the 30-minute mark if we do it right. So we'll go with the conditioning during colder weather. Colder weather is usually in season. In season has a lot of benefits of doing your conditioning off feet. So if you're going to the gym anyway, maybe commit an extra 30 minutes, and you can do 30 minutes before. I like to get my guys often to do the 30 minutes of conditioning before, and you could just do steady state work, you could do tempo work, do it aerobic. And if you do it before, it's definitely going to get done. If you leave it to the end, often you'll be like, I don't want to do cardio now, it's boring. So I don't mind doing it before, and despite what people will say, it doesn't negatively affect your gains. It doesn't if you're doing aerobic work, it won't negatively affect your session. If anything, it will warm you up really well for your session, because again, you're keeping it aerobic. You're not going too hard. So going on the bike, going off, and when I say off feet, it means minimal impact. So you could still do the elliptical or the cross trainer. That would still be a fine method. In fact, that would be a great method, because again, when you're working the aerobic system to be a better conditioned athlete, you're not targeting specific muscles or specific running patterns. You're targeting the heart and its ability to pump blood around the body to keep you fresh and to keep you performing during a game. So if you get better at that, if you improve your heart's ability to do that, you're getting fitter. It doesn't necessarily have to be running. In fact, it probably shouldn't be running in season, because you're going to be doing a lot of running on your Tuesday and your Thursday. And if you are doing any running, potentially we're looking at specific tempo sprints, or we could be looking at specific max intensity sprints or sprint training to get you faster. Either way, if you're doing your conditioning work, you probably want to save it or save the legs when you're doing it. So obviously, if it's colder outside, even better, do it inside. With that being said, excuse the cough. With that being said, you can still absolutely just go out and run. And yeah, it's a little bit cold, but you warm up as you go. Any low intensity steady state run, I know for myself, there's times, quite often really, the first kilometer, the first mile or so, sometimes even longer, just drags. It just drags. It feels like, what am I doing? Why am I running? Why am I doing this? This isn't going to be any benefit. Maybe I should just give up ever trying to do proper conditioning work. I should just do weights and be bulking forever. And by the time I've done a mile or so, or a couple miles, I get into the swing of things. I start feeling good, and then I'm fine. And that is sometimes for me it's not magnified when it's cold. I actually like it when it's cold. For me, it's magnified when it's hot outside. So when it's really humid, I'm like, oh, this is miserable, you know. But I still go out and I still get it done. And if you go out and do a run, like obviously you can't cut yourself short, so because you're going out on a loop, or if you're going out or doing an out and back row, even better. You know, whatever you do to get halfway, you've got to do again to get back, and that's a really good tactic to make sure that you get it done. But like I say, do it in the gym or just, you know, either way, get it done. The other tactic that you could do, but this is the one that I like when it's nicer outside compared to when it's shit outside, is go to training early and just do, you can, you know, get 20 minutes. And this, I'd usually save that for speed work. I'd usually save that for agility work, like more high intensity work, or maybe some agility tempos, especially if the weather's nice. But if the weather's crap, it's not as appealing. So I don't always say that, but I thought I might just throw that out there now, because it's just a more convenient way to do conditioning. Is like, you're already going to rugby pitch, you're already putting your boots on, you're already going to be tired after anyway. Why not do just a little bit of extras as far as conditioning goes before training? Just my 2 cents. How to avoid cramps during a game: get fitter and make sure that you're you're eating enough salt and you're drinking enough water. Like Lucozades and all of your different Gatorades and your electrolyte drinks are like worth it in competition, but if you're relying on them, it's probably too late, unless it's like right at the back end of the game. In which case, yeah, it's a case of just making sure, number one, you stay completely hydrated, or you start the game hydrated, right? So you having the electrolytes during the game can help maintain hydration levels, but you should always go into a game well hydrated. That means you're salting your food, right? Like, people give salt a bad rap because it gives, like, because a lot of people have terrible heart problems that are already overweight, and then they have lots of salt on their horrendous food choices anyway. But as an athlete, you need salt. You're going to sweat, you're going to need salt. So salting your food is a really good way to make sure that you are getting in enough electrolytes, and then from there, just making sure you're drinking enough ahead of time. You know, it shouldn't be something that you overthink. Normally, if anything, like getting cramps is just a case of it's your body responding to a stimulus that it's not quite ready to handle. Even it can be a case of not being hydrated enough, and those steps are easy. Like, you shouldn't be like, you'll cramp up if you just have been a bit of an idiot, you know. Whereas if you're consistently cramping up, even if you are drinking, even if you are salting your food, there is a case that you're just not fit enough. So you've got to get fitter. You know, it's the same answers on the last Q&A. I remember, you know, talking about what is the perfect pre-game food, because I start to feel like really tired towards the end of the game. There's no food that covers for that. That's just a case of getting fitter. And the same here. If you're cramping up every game, you know, you're pushing yourself really hard, which is like, kudos to you. You know, you can't work any harder, but at some point you need to be smarter with what you're doing outside of your games to allow you to work harder during games. So yeah, that's it really. There's no magic in there. As far as hydration goes, I've seen a lot of stuff recently on the Prime, which people love, that does not have the amount of... So look, if you're looking for hydration drinks, and if you're looking for what they called, not hydration drinks, they're called electrolyte drinks. Like, you want whatever drink has got the most sodium in, that's going to be good. Okay, so whatever that is, like, drink that. You want lots of sodium. That's what you lose when you sweat. So if you're sweating a lot, then getting more sodium in along with your along with water is a good way to do that. You can make your own drink up, or you can just find off the shelf whichever one has a lot of sodium in. That would be good for you, and then you would avoid cramps. All right. That brings us to the 30 minutes. We have no further questions, Your Honor. This has been a bit of a low-key one. It's still been fun. It's been enjoyable. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Ask any questions that you'd like me to answer in the October Q&A. We might be doing another one later in September, so watch out for that. Best way to find all that stuff is sign up at rugby-muscle.com for the freebies, and then you will be able to get access to the emails, which then you'll stay updated on all future projects. There are some, like, I'm fucking excited. There are some fucking exciting Rugby Muscle projects to come in the future. So make sure you're in on that. Like, you will love what we're about to offer soon. Not just rugby strength and conditioning programs, but that is gonna we've got stuff in the works that is gonna blow the rest of, like, whatever you're currently doing out of the water. We've got stuff that is, like, I'm really excited about the future of Rugby Muscle and the training that we're going to give to you guys and have on offer, and everything that we can to serve the amateur rugby community. Not just that, though, we've also got lots of content coming up, so we're trying to get 2 to 3 new videos per week up on the YouTube channel, so make sure you hit subscribe, especially with the Rugby World Cup going down. We're having a lot of fun doing previewing that sort of stuff. South Africans are having lots of fun telling me that I'm a complete idiot for not saying that they're going to run away with the World Cup and win it easily. I'm probably taking these comments a bit too much to heart. But we'll see. We'll do one more World Cup preview. We might do a long form podcast. We might have a guest on that will join us. Lots of exciting stuff. So make sure you stay tuned. And yeah, we're gonna show out. We're gonna rock it. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Any questions in the comments below? Give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.